We return to the cold truth about the world's greatest conspiracy, the annual murder of millions of defenseless babies before they are even born. Our first point, which is the only point we should need, the very mantra under which this conspiracy marches, a demonic slogan so touted as to become the very name of the movement, is the greatest evidence of the evil pushing this group forward: pro-choice. They announce to the world that they are pro-choice, that it is a woman's choice what she will do with her body, that it is a woman's choice whether she will sacrifice her own offspring to the golden idol of her own supposed freedom, that it is the woman's choice whether she will suffer the consequences of her own actions. For the most part, pro-choice is a lie that implies a woman could not choose to engage in the actions that would bring about the creation of an unwanted life, but could choose to change the consequences. First, let us be abundantly clear. Pro-choice has a place. There are times when the choice was never the woman's in the first place. When she is a victim of either rapine or of incest, she is not consensual. There are times when carrying the child will destroy the mother's mind forever, reminding her of that terrible moment. Those women are not members of the conspiracy. They are victims. They have been forced to bear the brunt of mother's hate and lust, and are thus innocent. These have the choice to keep the baby or not, because the choice to create the baby was never theirs. There is a time in which the mother's life is in jeopardy should she attempt to bring forth her precious offspring. With the care and help of competent medical professionals and psychiatric professionals, the woman may make the tragic and painful decision to value the life she has built over the life that has yet to begin. These women have the choice to keep the baby or not, because they have to choose one life over another. Some might add a third exception for when the baby is guaranteed to live life in a vegetative or permanently disabled state. We will mention these again later, but for now, know that with the same proper care and knowledge, the choice may be theirs, because they did not choose for the baby to be forever stunted. These are the exceptions, rather than the rule. They are as exceptional as they are tragic. Most pro-lifers accept these exceptions. Most pro-choicers do not accept that pro-lifers accept them, and demand wholesale abortion as the reward for winning a fight the pro-lifers never fought. As for the majority of cases, the choice has already been made. What pro-choice means is that you believe you have the right to choose your actions. That has been done. You know what actions we are referring to. Dare we spell it out? It's called sex, ladies. Sex, that often pejorated yet sacred three-letter word that is the basis of all mammalian life on the planet. That sacred act meant to be shared between a man and his wife, which has been proven a stumbling block for women and men when used outside of that hallowed institution. For those three categories, we ourselves are pro-choice. We want them to have the choice to, if they talk to doctors and psychiatrists and are told that they need to abort the child, have the option to do so. That is pro-choice. We are also pro-choice to choose actions. We do not have the time, energy, money, or desire to sneak into every room of every home in the USA to ensure that no unmarried people are having sex. Some US states and other countries have laws forbidding adultery and fornication, but they are almost never enforced. Some people even think they're unconstitutional in the US because their enforcement is so ad hoc. We do not disagree. We do not care about taking a woman in adultery in the very act. How would anyone but a stalker or a cheated spouse know? How would a jury of her peers prove it? We do not want to know about everyone else's sexcapades. We are very pro-choice, meaning you have the choice to sleep with whom you want as long as we do not have to know about it, and we do not have to be the ones to punish you, temporally or eternally, for your bad choice. We are also pro the right for women to choose to not take birth control, or to choose not to require their partner to wear a condom. While we are very much against sex outside of marriage, it's just so much less meaningful. We are also very much against our taxpayer dollars going to controlling an activity that is, for the most part, positive and used properly. This is not what those who have been convinced they are pro-choice think they are voting for. They think they are for the ability of a woman to do with her body as she sees fit, rejecting the fact that she already did. She already chose to have 15 minutes of moderate exhilaration, but she did not choose to have 18 years of combined joy and heartache. Pro-choice is nothing but a buzzword that doesn't hold up the most basic of preschool logic. Since that is not pro-choice, what is it? Their pro-choice is not pro-anything. In theory, it's anti-choice. Anti-giving others the choice to judge you, to persecute you, to look down on you for not being able to resist your primal instincts. That will happen. Sorry, it's just a fact of life. We are not the ones doing it. We really don't care. We will love you enough to tell you the cold truth, no matter how stupid you are. People in general will judge others at a glance. They always have, they always will. That is their choice, one they may be wrong to make, but it is still theirs. They cannot choose to attack or persecute you without fear of consequence, but any judgment is entirely their choice. You cannot take that away from them, or else you are against freedom of speech. Since one cannot take away freedom to choose, to do so would be contradictory to everything our founding fathers stood for. Pro-choice is anti one or both of two things. It is either anti-morality, or even more deviously, anti-consequence. Anti-morality means that everyone has the right to choose their own right and wrong, an obvious lie to anyone without a diagnosis of sociopathy. Anti-consequence means that, no matter what anyone does, he or she gets to choose what the results will be, another obvious lie to anyone who has ever dealt with toddlers. These two lies are not directly preached by pro-choice, but ultimately are the ends to which they strive. Though the start point of these two corrupt and broken thought patterns is philosophically different, the end is fundamentally the same. Let us give an example. Imagine, if you will, two bank robbers who are caught red-handed and are brought to court. When asked how they plead, they answer two different but equally ridiculous claims. The first says, I'm pro-choice. I decided that robbing a bank was good, so I did it. You can't punish me because I did what I thought was right, and that's all that matters. The second says, I'm pro-choice. I don't think robbing a bank should be a jailable offense. I think I should be let out on my own recognizance, because that's what I think the consequence of bank robbery should be. In the end, what can the judge do but sentence them? Their beliefs that they should not be punished because they are pro-choice do not take away the fact that a crime was committed. They may not agree that robbing a bank should be a crime. They may not have been part of the group that originally decided it was. That does not make them uniquely exempt. It was not legal for all the other bank robbers, so why should it be legal for them? They may not have been part of the group who decided that bank robbers belong in prison, but that doesn't mean they don't. Other bank robbers were put in prison. They should be too. That's basic justice. The same is true of women who tout pro-choice like they understand its implications. They may not agree that sex should lead to pregnancy. They may not have been either a god who decided that a male zygote implanting into a female zygote would trigger reproduction, or the entropy of the universe that led to the exact same conclusion, depending on what they believe. That does not make them uniquely exempt. Their birth was because their mother and father chose to have sex, so why should it be impossible for the same to happen to them? They may not have been the god or entropy of the universe that decided mammalian females would carry their children in utero for 9 months, but that does not mean it does not happen. Other women have gotten pregnant after unprotected sex, so they might also. That's basic justice. Pro-choice is an utterly nonsensical argument born from unchecked lust and raised by media that shows millions of men and women of questionable moral character who do not conceive because their actions are scripted, and incorporating a pregnancy or baby into the plot did not line up with the creator's ideas. The media portrays sex as the ultimate point of love, rather than love as the ultimate point of sex, and ignores the consequences, justifying that those consequences are not 100% certain, but they are contrary to the designs of the producers. People follow their example and then suffer consequences different from what was shown on TV or in the tabloids. Like a person who used a product offered in a commercial and did not feel the same overblown joy that the commercial actors seem to have, all we can say is results may vary. Even accepting that the 3 exceptions we mentioned earlier may make up, as it is reported, nearly half of the cases of all abortions, which is a number we find utterly impossible to believe. That still means that pro-choice costs an innocent life unnecessarily every 6 seconds just in the United States. That means that, in a single year, there are still 500,000 deaths brought about by the conspiracy in the United States alone. That is nearly twice as many deaths as all American soldiers who died of any causes during the American Revolution, the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, World War I, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the Iraq War put together. On a global scale, assuming the same percentage of abortions that are due to those 3 exceptions, the number of murders is still multiplied by 7. 7! That's 3.5 million babies slaughtered like sheep because of the pride of their would-be mothers. That's more than all the lives cost during the violence of the 100 Years' War. There are 3 major estimates of what percentage of abortions are actually lawful. Pro-choicers, as we said, argue that it is 50%. Truly, they argue that it is 100%, but pro-lifers will never believe that "I don't want this baby" is a valid excuse, much less a reason. So 50% is the benchmark we will use. They imply that about 40% or more of pregnancies are caused by rape and/or incest. Since only 0.1% of rapes lead to pregnancy, their numbers imply there are about 400 million rapes in the US per annum. If there are about 400 million rapes in the US per annum, maybe we should just abort our children, since the world's future may not be worth saving. However, the statistics of people who actually care about facts feeding opinions rather than opinions choosing facts tell a very different story. In 2023, Florida kept a very close tab on their abortions and discovered that those exceptions make up about 7%, of which most were cases where the pregnant female cried rape but cannot be proven. These numbers are based entirely on the statements given by women who come to the abortion clinics. This includes women who claim their lives are on the line with no evidence from doctors. As a more conservative estimate, doctors in areas that require more stringent requirements for abortion suggest that only 0.1%, or about 1 in 1,000 cases that come to them desiring an abortion, can actually legally go through with it. We are going to use these 2 later statistics as the truth, namely that only 7% of abortion patients claim to have a good reason, and only 0.1% actually do. That implies closer to 93% of all abortions are murders, plain, pure, and simple, and that 699 out of 700 of abortions that claim not to be murders may very well still be. In all, that means that only about 1,000 abortions should be happening in the US per year, and that only about 7,000 should be happening worldwide. That number is tragic, but much more reasonable. With these numbers, it is clear that the beliefs touted by the conspiracy of pro-choice are 99.9% wrong, and they are, as a whole, responsible for about 999,000 murders each year in the US, about 1.5 times as many as died from heart disease or cancer in 2023. This is only our first point. If you do not find yourself shaken, continue to watch as we destroy the lie that life does not start until birth. The cold truth will prevail.